Hello and welcome to Startup Street. I'm Arundhati Ramanan, and joining me from the Bangalore studio is Ritu Singh. Ritu, welcome on the show. You're the latest addition. I hope the Bangalore rains are being kinder to you today.
Well, they definitely are kinder than they were yesterday, and glad to be on the show.
That's good to know, but let's take a look at the top headlines from the startup world. The government set to announce new guidelines for social media influencers who endorse brands and products within the next 10 days. Head of the Consumer Protection Authority says an influencer must provide disclaimers and will be treated as an endorser. Any violation will result in penalties starting from 10 lakh rupees.
The Reserve Bank of India reiterates plans to launch its digital currency as a pilot project this year. RBI Deputy Governor T. Ravi Shankar says CBDC could become an efficient tool in reducing time and cost of cross-border transactions.
Zomato's 10-minute food delivery service, Zomato Instant, has moved into an extended stage. The pilot has been scaled from 2 to 6 locations in Delhi NCR, with plans to test it out in Bengaluru as per a report.
Agnikul Cosmos secures patent for its single-piece 3D printed rocket engine. The development comes shortly after the space tech startup opened India's first private rocket engine factory with a capacity to 3D print 2 engines each week.
Stay Vista raises 40 crore rupees in a funding round led by DSG Consumer Partners with participation from Capri Global and CA Holdings. The startup, which offers luxury villas on rent, seeks to expand its footprint beyond its 50 locations in India.
And after launching the last 2 iPhones virtually because of the pandemic, tech giant Apple is ready to reveal a new range of products at an in-person event later this evening. Watch out for the much-anticipated iPhone 14 launch. Well, the government may announce new guidelines for social media influencers who endorse brands and products within the next 10 days. Nidhi Khare, the chairperson of the Consumer Protection Authority, told my colleague Timsy Jaipuria that an influencer must provide disclaimers and will be treated as an endorser. Now, she said any violation is going to result in penalties starting from 10 lakh rupees.
As we all know that CCPA issued guidelines on the misleading advertisements and also how to prevent such misleading advertisements. We already have covered the endorsers. However, we felt that in today's digital world, there are a lot of social influencers who are also acting and who are also basically involved in advertising of a product or a service. They also their role also needs to be delineated, and they also need to be brought under this aspect. So we are working on bringing guidelines for these social influencers so that it serves as a guidance to the social influencers to understand how they can be on the wrong side of the law if they do not fulfill or they do not comply with certain instructions.
Ma'am, when you say that the guidelines are still in works and they'll be announced shortly, what could be the salient features? Because social media influencers are similar to brand endorsers, brand ambassadors. How would you try to point out some salient features?
So, for example, in a when a celebrity is actually endorsing any product, the consumer actually knows that the celebrity has been employed to make these endorsements, and they understand that there is a commercial relationship between the manufacturer or the advertising agency and the celebrity. But in a social influencer sector, the consumers are very, very gullible, and they are not able to make out whether this is an innocent review or is it just maybe it has been said something just as a passing reference, or whether there is a pattern, or whether there is a commercial relationship between the social influencer and the advertising agency. So what we are thinking of is that in order to beware the consumers from following every advice that the social influencer is giving. There has to be a disclosure, self-disclosure by the social influencer with regards to whatever products he's talking about, whether he shares a commercial relationship with the advertising agency or with the manufacturer or the trading marketing company.
So the self-disclosure will have to be visible on the video.
Absolutely.
Also in the description saying that this is a paid promotion or a paid review.
Exactly. So this should be a disclosure which can be very easily discerned by the consumers. So we are working on that, how to make sure that the consumer understands that there is a commercial relationship into what he's talking about a certain product.
Joining us now to discuss the impending implication of these rules is chef and content creator Sanjot Keer, the founder of Your Food Lab. Sanjot, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Now, the government is working on bringing guidelines for social media influencers in 10 days, which includes self-disclosure to be made mandatory and influencer to be treated as an endorser. So what do you make of these new rules that are set to come out?
I believe there are guidelines in place in the current date as well by the SAI, and influencers or content creators like me already are abiding to these guidelines. We always disclose that whenever we are doing a paid collaboration or a sponsored video, we do use features which are available on different social media platforms to inform our viewers that this is a paid collaboration or this is a sponsored video. So once these guidelines are out, we'll understand better that how this will change for us, because we are already disclosing that whenever we receive an amount from an agency or the brand, we always disclose this on any platform we do a video on.
But Sanjot, from what is currently in the public domain, and that includes the CPA talking about levying hefty penalties, restricting access to endorsement for a while if there are foul plays, etc. What do you make of what is already in public? While we understand you're saying the final guidelines are yet to be framed, and you are already following certain rules.
There are certain distinctions, like I've heard ma'am saying that, we'll have to put a self-disclosure onto the video, which is not in the case for endorsements which happen on television or any other platform right now. And still, like on platforms like on YouTube, on Meta, on Facebook, on Instagram, we use features like paid collaboration or a sponsored video to disclose that the video is paid for, and we are advertising such products. Regarding the penalties, I'm not sure what the guidelines would be, but if an influencer is abiding by the rules and is disclosing that the video is paid for, I don't think so the penalties will make a big difference for influencers like me.
Speaking about the penalties, they say that any violation of these rules will result in penalties starting from 10 lakh rupees. Is this penalty, you think, too steep? How would this compare with the average earnings of influencers as per their contracts?
It is quite steep, because for a lot of influencers who start off with a smaller audience, right, I don't think so they would be making that much amount of money for a single endorsement. Regardless of that, I feel that the framework, the guidelines should be announced, and there should be a certain time frame to be given to players who are already doing this since a long time, and suggestions should be taken by the agencies, and then the guidelines should be formalized.
Well, Sanjot, if you could just take a step back and give us a picture of the industry. While, there are responsible influencers that, rightly say that if they're endorsing, is it an ad, is it not an ad? But often we also see mis-selling of products by influencers. How vulnerable are consumers to this?
Surely there are a few content creators or influencers who don't use the paid tags or sponsored tags. There is a big myth out there that, if you use these tags, your videos do not reach out to a wider audience, which your regular videos do, but there's nothing as such. I've been using these tags for the past 6 years, and I've never faced such, distribution problems with my videos whenever I'm doing a paid endorsement. Regardless, yes, consumers are vulnerable if content creators are not disclosing that a particular endorsement is paid for. I believe that every influencer or content creator who is in the social media domain should use these features and should disclose that they are being paid for. Also, there's another thing, like influencers or content creators like me, we also sometimes very organically talk about products which we don't get paid for. These products are products which we actually like, we actually use, and for such products we are not paid for. And I think that distinction should be made. Whenever we are doing that, we don't use a paid tag, and if the government agencies can actually go and check, if there is a way to check that, they are welcome to check, and then the discretion could be made.
Right, absolutely. But if I could quickly ask you, and you could tell us, according to the government, now the buck stops at the influencer, right? Because they're the ones who are going to be paying the penalty. What kind of research does the influencer need to do before he endorses a specific brand, since now there are higher penalties to be borne?
I believe, firstly, only the content creator should not be held for. Even the advertiser or the manufacturer or the brand is also equally liable. Because being in the industry for 6 years now, there are many times where the brand asks the influencer to not disclose that this is a paid collaboration. For such instances, me personally, I've said no, but there are a lot of influencers who say yes. So I think both the parties should be held for. That is very important. Other than that, a content creator should be well researched on the guidelines once they are out, that what needs to be done. Also, the platforms should make it mandatory, like right now as well. Even on all social media platforms, it's mandatory to disclose if the content creators getting paid for. So I think there are multiple parties involved, and everyone should be accountable.
You rightly said, Sanjot, and since we have very little time, I'm going to ask you this question. All parties are involved. Everybody's interest should be balanced. So what are the quick one or two things that you think the government should keep in mind while framing these guidelines that you as a content creator feel are important for your protection as well as the consumer's protection?
I believe the disclosure should be on the platform and not in the video, because even if you see any endorsement advertisements today on television, there's nothing mentioned on top of the video. In fact, there is no disclaimer also mentioned. Vis-a-vis on social media, we content creators use a paid promotion or a sponsored tag, which is clearly visible on top of the post or in the description, and is easily readable. So I think that should be the mandate, and not an on-video pre-production disclosure, which will make a big difference for us content creators.
So you don't want an on-video disclaimer, but, and that's one of the asks that you have. But Sanjot, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and we'll reconnect with you when the guidelines are finalized and out.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Moving on, fintech startup Paynearby today announced a partnership with Axis Bank to help launch savings and current bank accounts for last-mile SMEs and other customers at a nearby store. To talk about what this partnership means for the fintech, its business outlook, and a lot more, we have Anand Kumar Bajaj, the CEO of Paynearby, joining us now. Anand, thanks for being here with us. If I can start by asking you, can you tell us a little bit about your partnership with Axis Bank to launch saving and current accounts for last-mile customers or SMEs?
We are a distribution as a service partner, a DaaS, so to say, with a platform attached to our gateway. So there is a wide network that we have been able to create in the country, and then there is a platform that we have attached. On this platform, now you keep adding services and it gets published to the Bharat. It gets distributed to the Bharat. So this network is nothing but a two-way transmission protocol of connected digital entrepreneurs. It's a neural network. You can as much as relay product and get back insights, refine the product, and again go back to that. With the bank today, with Axis Bank today, we have been able to partner and unveil the path forward for taking the high end of technology to the bottom of the pyramid.
Anand, but let's just take a step back and talk about your business itself. Every month, how much worth of sachetized financial services are you able to dispense to the Bharat or to the customers in the rural areas?
It is today $1 billion a month of transmission that our retail partners, digital pradhans, transmit to the Bharat, the citizens. We avoid calling them customers yet because the strata of a citizen is much higher, we believe, a pedestal much higher than a consumer. That said, $1 billion a month of throughput in sachetized financial services, reaching 150 million citizens is what we have been able to accomplish till date.
Anand, if I could also ask you, you were in talks with Netflix for a sachet subscription for about 10 rupees per movie or some such a plan like this. So what's the latest on that front?
Zee, Shimaru, Hoichoi, and a couple of others have already gone live on our platform. To bring everyone on the platform, it's a matter of little more endeavor, little more time, a little more technology that everyone has to work on the DRMs. So to be able to give a dispensation of a 10 rupee for a movie, there is a digital rights technology that partners have to configure. So be it Amazon, be it Hotstar, be it Netflix, all of them, we have been in conversations.
Anand, something that has been occupying the thoughts of the industry right now really is RBI's discussion paper on charges for digital payments. Now, there are 40-odd questions posed by the RBI, but primarily asking, should the regulator intervene to set a limit on these charges? Should they be market determined? Should we look at a zero UPI MDR charge at all? Overall, what is your sense on these discussions that have been raised by the RBI?
See, I think there is a larger policy intent, a government objective that the government wants to drive, deliver, and has a better evolved thought process in mind. So we would be submissive to it, and knowing fully that these technologies, when you try to take to mass, it costs a bit, even though on a large scale, per transaction cost would be lower. It is important that the organizations providing these services remain commercially viable so that you can do much more responsible work. The whole idea of Reserve Bank bringing out this paper is to rake up that whole debate of nil MDR and then see how the optimized pricing can go within credit card on a UPI or a debit card or a prepaid card on UPI, payment gateway charges likewise. So the intent is, I believe, that with evolved technology, there should be some more benefit passed to the ecosystem.
Right, but would you require further capital raising in the near future, mainly in the context of funding or getting money, however, with rational valuations?
So if winter comes, spring is not far behind. Ritu, we have learned this, heard it all our childhood. And this is the moment. Winter won't last long. We are already in conversations with some good partners. This segment, with a linear progression that we have been able to demonstrate, with $1 billion of traction a month, I think the time to catapult and do the geometric progression is now. And we are in very, very interesting conversations with a couple of investors. Regarding valuation, I think it's a mindset. Unless the money comes in, what valuation do you command? It doesn't matter. But if you are able to co-create good value, then I think the IPOs reward the value creation. And we are cut for that. We certainly feel delighted that we have done all the hard work during the lockdown, and we say lockdown has slowed down nahi. So we have built all the digital payment rails on our backbone. We have seeped into the hinterlands of Bharat. So all the tough work has been done. Now the good fun work of scaling in true sense beyond the 2% that we do at our outlet for 2% of the banking ATM withdrawals. We can add a zero on the right side meaningfully.
Well put, Anand. There is perhaps the season change after the funding winter we've seen for startups. Thanks very much on that note for joining us here, Anand, and giving us your time. We have to take a short break on this note, but coming up on the other side, with an aim of bringing computer vision technology from science labs into the hands of people, Ashwini Ashokan started View AI. Now we speak to her on the big AI and SaaS opportunity in India. Stay tuned for that.